Good morning. My name is Karen Seymour Ells, and I serve on the board of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. I want to welcome you to our service this morning and welcome visitors as well to our open and inclusive community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another as we explore these paths. I would like to especially welcome our guests and welcome again those who have visited before. Visitors, it is the custom of our congregation to invite you to stand and give your name and where you are from if you feel comfortable doing so. Are there any visitors here this morning that would like to introduce themselves?
And I'm Terry.
Good. Okay, welcome. Please join us after, sorry. Welcome, Anna. Please join us after this. Did I miss someone else? No, we just have a crowd rolling in. Hi. Welcome back. Yeah. Please join us after the service for coffee hour. I think it's lemonade hour still. We would love to have a chance to get to know you better. Our Director of Religious Education, Steve Cooper, and our Congregational Life Coordinator, Mary Law, and all of our members are eager to meet you. I will also be present after the service down in Creeves Hall and would be happy to speak with you as well. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary should anyone feel the need to leave the service for any reason. As we begin our service, please silence all electronic devices. And I have an additional announcement. Help wanted, help throw a party. The Board of Trustees is seeking fun, creative, and motivated individuals who would like to participate with event planning and motivational skills in throwing our church auction this year. Please see Karen Peck, waving right there, in Creeves Hall after the service if you're interested in helping. Thank you.
To invite all the youth and children to come forward, join me on the gathering quilt. We're going to help Reverend Mike light the chalice this morning.
Carolyn's actually lighting it.
Caroline's going to light the chalice this morning.
Good morning.
Do all of you remember when we light the chalice sometimes we use movements when we do the chalice lighting words? We're going to help teach the congregation that. So I'd like all of you to stand up. And you're going to turn around and face the congregation, and you can back up towards the pulpit. All right, so you guys are going to follow me, And everybody else will follow along also. So say the words along with us. So first we're going to start by lighting this chalice. We light the chalice
We light the chalice
for Unitarian Universalism, the Church of the Open Mind, the Church of the Helping Hands, and the Church of the Loving Heart. All right. Everybody can have a seat. Oops. Sorry, Sophia. I have a bunch of items here sitting on the chancel, and these are things that help us to listen. Do you know what this is? What is it? A stethoscope.
the doctor thing.
It's a stethoscope. And what do you use a stethoscope to listen to? To hear your heart. Yes, what else? The inside of your body. You can hear breathing, so you can hear the lungs, you can hear the heart. So if you stick them in your ear, you can actually listen to your own heartbeat. Does anybody know what this is? What is it? What is it, Sasha? A conch shell. You use this for listening? If you put it up to your ear, you can hear what might sound like the ocean. So conch shell is something that you can listen with. You want? Come on forward.
I think sometimes can also be used as horns.
A conch shell can also be used as a horn, so it makes noises. Yep. Ellie, you can share it.
The conch shell, you actually hear your blood.
So what you're actually hearing with the conch shell is it is amplifying what's going on in your head.
That might not be much.
What else do I have here? Headphones. What do you use headphones for? Emily? So you can use it so you can play your computer games and only you can hear it. You can listen to a radio. You can listen to your iPod, so you can listen to music. You can listen to a book. You can listen to a lot of things with headphones.
So sometimes when we are trying to decide if something is right or wrong, wondering what we should do, we like to say sometimes that we listen to our inner voice. Have you heard that before? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? No? It's kind of like you're thinking to yourself, okay, should I take that extra scoop of ice cream? And what does your inner voice say? Oh, yes. No? Okay. But when we're listening to that inner voice, nobody else can hear it, right? It's just inside our heads. But the inner voice can be just as beautiful as our heartbeat or the whisper of the ocean in a seashell or listening to our favorite music.
So when we set an intention or we decide what we're going to do based on our deepest values and our inner voice, we try to live by the way of our heart and mind. And if our intention is to value living things, we may try to walk gently on the earth. We may try to make choices which help us live simply.
Sometimes our best intentions, even when we are listening to our inner voice or letting that inner voice guide us, sometimes even then we still maybe make a mistake and maybe we end up hurting someone. It might be that what is in our heart does not understand how it might hurt someone else. And so we need to learn. And our inner voice helps us learn these things. Or perhaps we need to practice listening and following our inner voice better. So each time we fail, we return to practice again. And we can't expect to be perfect people, right? None of us are perfect. Have you heard that? None of us are perfect. Nobody is perfect. But we keep on practicing.
And we keep on practicing. So please stand and body or spirit. Join us in singing hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace. And the children are invited to leave with me after the first verse for our religious education class.
Okay. Enter with me that still place within, the center, where we find not only our inmost selves, but also our connection to the farthest reaches of the universe. Here we confront our aspirations and our failings. Though we seek always for our lives to be full of goodness, we sometimes lack courage to right the injustices that confront us. Though we seek always to be generous, sometimes our fears cause us to be greedy. Though we seek always to walk the moral high ground, sometimes we judge others too quickly and too harshly. Though we seek always to understand the larger mysteries, sometimes doubt causes us to lose faith in our purpose. Here, in this space made sacred by our shared lives and our shared yearnings, may we find new courage, new generosity of spirit, forgiveness given and received, and rededication to the higher purposes of our lives. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditation hymn number 391, which is in the gray hymnal and will be projected.
Singing,
Good morning. So, on the fly question, Kat, is this supposed to be a Joys and Sorrows Sunday? Yes. We forgot to put that in the order of service. As an interdependent and caring community, we find it beneficial to offer time to speak our joys and sorrows that may be pressing on our hearts today. If you have a joy or a sorrow you wish to share, what is weighing them down or lifting them up when they have come here today. So let us take a moment to honor all of the joys and sorrows held by those in the room today and those that have been spoken or left unspoken. Thank you. Let us come forth and face the world with open hearts and open minds. What does it mean to have an open heart? I'm not talking about something literal, as in open heart surgery. I mean something metaphorical, as in I'm approaching this person I care about with an open heart. Of course, we do not really think or feel with our true hearts. That is a muscle for powering our circulatory system and thereby maintaining life. It is critical, it is life-giving, but it's not the seat of our emotional selves. That's but a fairy tale. Somehow, long ago, the heart became a metaphor for the whole emotional state of a person. In particular, it became a symbol for love. One might say, I'm so happy my heart could burst, or I'm so sad my heart could break. It's such a cultural touchstone for us that it is even found throughout pop culture. A famous example that I love is the movie Titanic, with a jewel called The Heart of the Ocean, and who can forget the movie's haunting theme song by Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. To walk into a room, a situation, a relationship at any given time is to acknowledge some level of risk. It may be hard to go in with openness and thoughtfulness of the other, whomever the other may be, your lover, your friend, your teacher, your preacher, your parents or your children, or even, yes, this is hard to say, even your tweeting and twittering president. And yet, that is what it means to have an open heart. To be open to the possible, to be willing to risk being wrong, to have faith in ourselves and others and acting upon that faith. Author Janice Williams wrote, "An open heart is a heart that feels comfortable saying, let's try, we'll find a way, let's learn something new." An open heart is a heart that is not afraid. It knows how to endure sadness. It knows how to heal and how to forgive. It is strong and loving. An open heart is not exclusively feminine or masculine. At its most basic, an open heart is a heart that is not afraid to love deeply. It's not blind to cost or reason or practicality, but it's not necessarily governed by those factors either. An open heart sees possibilities. It has vision. It is patient, and it is wise. Do you approach any situations with an open heart? If you do you know why you do, or how? Is it something you've ever consciously thought of before, or is it simply something you do automatically? And now for the really difficult question. How do we approach life with an open heart when there is so much to despair about happening all around us? Sometimes I think that all that despair in the world has its roots in fear. I'll come back to that. Last week I was reminded that climate change is having catastrophic effects on the world. Rising temperatures in polar regions causing ice melt, resulting in changing habitats for animals and people, resulting in both fleeing and trying to find better places to live. And halfway between those polar regions is the equatorial region, so hot and dry that parts of the rainforest of the Amazon have been burning for weeks. Truly catastrophic and a source of despair for all those who are affected or who are watching with the sure knowledge that we will all be affected sooner or later. And yet there are those in the world who deny that problem, climate change, even exists. I heard it was a Chinese hoax, didn't you? Close-mindedness. I'll get to open minds in a bit. But first, let me ask you, how do you approach the deniers or any authorities doing some egregious and immoral thing in the name of God or the fatherland or some other symbol that will not save them when the time comes? Can you or I bring our open hearts to such a conversation? In the midst of despair, and there are those with power who are not alleviating the despair, what is my open heart worth? What can I accomplish? Why should I even bother? You or I may ask ourselves any of those things. When I find myself in this spot, I remind myself to look for the story behind the story, the truth that is yet unrevealed. Again, I've often thought that despair is rooted in fear. There are those who are so fearful of losing what they have in the here and now and cannot look beyond their fear. And so they believe that the only way to maintain all that they care for in the world is to maintain the status quo. Changing fossil fuel consumption will change the fortunes of the oil barons and their friends, and they cannot look beyond what they know and what they have. You could substitute tobacco companies or gun manufacturers or any number of other industries and political causes, and it comes out the same. That is this, that they fear losing what they have, and so they hold on to it at all costs. Never mind that Rome may burn to the ground around them, while they have cocktail parties to raise money for political candidates. They cannot see beyond their fear. For any given mogul or politician, it may simply not be possible for them right now. They cannot see beyond their fear. And that is why I counsel us to approach them with an open heart. Please remember, I'm speaking in the language of metaphor and simile today. I counsel us to approach those who so fear the unknown, the future that they do not control, that they hold on to what they believe they have in the present so hard that they hurt themselves and others. With an open heart, I believe we can handle their fear and the despair it engenders. It is with compassion that we can reach another human being. We cannot help others open their hearts in any other way that I know of. Fighting will not do it. Arguing in court or Congress will not do it. If we or someone else cannot touch the heart of another person, some fearful yet privileged person, then they might never open their hearts to the suffering they have caused. This concept has now moved us beyond metaphor and into truth, I believe. One of my inspirations is the psychologist Carl Jung, who talked about our unconscious shadows, which are, in part, our blind spots, things that we cannot see, we cannot make out for ourselves. Jung wrote, "A man who is unconscious of himself acts in a blind, instinctive way and is in addition fooled by all the illusions that arise when he sees everything that he's not conscious of in himself coming to meet him from outside as projections upon his neighbor." Let us say that I am that oil baron and I am fearful, but I cannot see it in myself that I am fearful, so I project that unto others and call them fearmongers. And this is how I see those fearful people, so desperately clutching to what they have, lashing out at others that they imagine are a threat. Can you give me a little bottle of water? Thanks. Lashing out at others that they imagine are a threat to what they have. I spent the entire day yesterday with the Board of Trustees talking, and I'm losing my voice. I do a lot of listening too, but the purpose of yesterday was to teach something, and I taught it. But thank you. That is a very good point. I have a lot of listening to do. Lashing out at others. These fearful people lashing out at others that they imagine are a threat to what they have, all the while being unaware that the rest of us despair that they are destroying everything for everyone. This is surely even more obviously true of those who speak out about the right of others unlike themselves, as if they lose something when someone else gains the same thing that they have. I spoke about that a bit last week, so I won't rehash it today. I realize that this is hard stuff. How do I approach all that we've been speaking about today, with an open heart? Let's consider a few other things and come back to that. So I say again, let us come forth and face the world with open hearts and open minds. What does it mean to have an open mind? I don't think that any of us believes we are closed-minded. We all aspire to have an open mind, a willingness to listen to or accept different ideas or opinions. And in the wider world, did you know that there are those with whom you or I most certainly disagree? And we might think that they are closed-minded, and yet those persons think that they are open-minded, and it is we who are not. Who is right? We may never know the answer to that question. Regardless, what does it mean when I say I am open-minded? Is it to take what another says as gospel truth without further question or discernment? No, of course not. Perhaps that is a frustration I have with those who talk about fake news and offer up their own truth that is anything but. So what does it really mean to have an open mind? Another metaphor, because we actually don't know what the mind is. There are numerous conflicting theories, and the field of psychology has no verifiable answers for us on that question today. We talk about the mind, yet we do not have scientific proof that such a thing actually even exists. So, we find ourselves using the language of metaphor and simile again because minds are so elusive. If the mind is the conscious manifestation of the self, our inner self, and the repository of our knowledge and information, well, that sounds rather passive, not to mention dry. In this instance, the mind is open to receiving new information. Okay, that's fine as far as it goes. However, if the mind is our analyzer and abacus, I'm avoiding a certain metaphor here, the mechanism for examining situations and forecasting potential outcomes, the mind takes on a more active role. We are thinking and wondering, and then choosing what we should say or do next. In this case, the open mind is a tool of a rational and reasonable human being. And of course, that is us, right? Maybe. Sometimes we speak of conscience, or a still small voice within. The former comes from psychology, while the latter described an experience of the Old Testament prophet Elijah. The idea is that we have an inner voice of reason and calm that helps us to discern right from wrong. Some believe that voice, if it is a voice, is just ourselves. Others believe it is from some holy entity. Still others say we are simply a collection of logic circuits, like a computer. That was the metaphor I want to avoid, but can't in this technical age. I admit I don't know what to do with that concept. It bothers me to think of the computer. It makes me think of the Borg. Yeah. That particular reference seems to be coming up a lot this weekend. But I am concerned about the still small voice that may speak in my mind or your mind or in the minds of our leaders in the halls of power. There are children in cages on the border, denied medicines and vaccines, torn from their parents and held in squalor. To our nation's everlasting shame, I must say. So where is the conscience of our nation today? Does that still small voice not speak into the minds of our leaders? Are they so close-minded, not to mention closed-hearted, that they do not hear or feel anything about what is happening? Oh, but they do hear the voice of conscience, someone says. They are guided by a still small voice, or even the voice of their almighty God, some might say. So it is. And here is where we find ourselves in conflict. For someone who is guided by the word of God as they have chosen to interpret it, it seems they will be quick to say to someone else like me or you that we are closed-minded ourselves. Ouch. Who is right? One has to ask. If someone is guided by God, if that is possible, if that is true, who are we to question? The still small voice must be giving them some good info, and we are just ignorant in that worldview. Well, I cannot stand by and take that at face value, although it is the message that is being broadcast far and wide in recent days, months, and even years. It's hard to argue with someone who is absolutely sure that their still small voice is giving them all that they need to know and do. But I would counsel such a person to be careful that the voice is only telling them what they want to hear. In fact, Susan B. Anthony put it this way: I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. That brings me back to what it means to have an open mind, a willingness to listen to or accept different ideas or opinions. It seems to me that people of conscience, people of reason, people of progressive and inclusive values need to build on what's already happening. Around the country, there are efforts in the streets, courtrooms, and even in Congress to put forth a message based in our moral values. That our open minds realize that we should listen to the refugee before passing judgment. That we should walk in the shoes of the person of color before presuming to know what is best for them. That we should talk, and even more importantly, we should listen. To someone's point earlier. We should open our minds to the possible that is all around us, just as I said we should do with our opening hearts. As I said before, I realize that this is hard stuff. How do I approach all of that, all that we've been speaking of today, with an open mind? This is an aspiration of a high order, to ask you all to approach life and circumstances with an open heart and an open mind. On some days, we do better than on others. It's not perfect. Life is never perfect, and sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes I find out that I've done or said something and I did not have as open of a mind or as open of a heart as I believed that I did. Such is life. We try and we try again. And when we work to open the hearts and minds of others, including our leaders, it is the same. We try and we try again. May we approach this year, this ministry, the people of this congregation, and in the surrounding community and country with an open heart and an open mind. And let us realize now that some mistakes will be made somewhere along the line. But when we come with an openness to all that is possible, this is seen, and we hope reciprocated by others. This is my hope and my aspiration for each one of us. May it ever be so, and blessed be you all. We are called by passion and integrity to do the work of justice. We are called by compassion and care to do the work of love. We are called by each other to do the work of community. And we are called by others to do the work of hospitality. It is in the service of all of these ideals and more that we support this church and all of its work. If you're here for the first time, we invite you to let the offering bowl pass you by because you are our honored guest. And if you have made this your spiritual home, we thank you for your continuing generosity. This morning's offering will now be received. I was asked if we could have some sort of ritual to acknowledge all those who have made goodwill offerings to support the work of this church, whether that be in the bowl or through electronic or other means. So we tried this last week, and I invite you to join me again. It is with deepest gratitude for the generosity of this community that we all say together, thank you. Today I will close with some words from the fabulous fantasist, or the fantastic fabulist if you prefer, Neil Gaiman. At the beginning of a new church year and a new ministry, I find his words to be inspiring. Gaiman wrote, "I hope that in this year to come, you make mistakes. Because if you are making mistakes, then you are making new things, trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing the world. You're doing things you've never done before, and more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish for you," he says, "and all of us, and my wish for myself. Make new mistakes. Make glorious, amazing mistakes. Make mistakes nobody's ever made before. Don't freeze. Don't stop. Don't worry that it isn't good enough or it isn't perfect. Whatever it is, art or love or work or family or life, whatever it is you're scared of doing, do it. Make your mistakes next year and forever." Our closing hymn is number 1054 in the Teal Hymnal, "Let This Be a House of Peace." I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. So we don't know that one very well. I was going to let you off the hook, but it seemed like people got the hang of it, so we kept on going. Mistakes. And learning from mistakes. So I will work hard to have a strong song leader up here with us for these songs that maybe we don't know so well. We have a calling in this world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect differences with dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are people of a wide path. Let us be wide in affection and go our way in peace. Blessed be, and go now in peace.